Hi, my name is Tate, and I am an author and illustrator of youth literature, and these are a few of the books that I've illustrated or written. Welcome to my studio. This is where I do my work. I love my studio, which is really just a very large bedroom. Hey! Over the years, I've collected many research books and picture books. I often say that if you're going to be a great author and an illustrator, first you have to be a great reader. You need to spend a lot of time reading books. Sometimes people ask me, how do I relax in my studio? Well, when I get really stressed out, I practice yoga and mindfulness. And I love all of my plants. They really do help me to relax. And then sometimes I simply lay down and take a nap. Okay, now that you've seen my studio, let's go draw some pictures in my favorite space where I love to work, right here at my iPad. So, how about if I demonstrate how I go about drawing pictures on my iPad? That white space there represents the paper that I'm drawing on, and that circle shape, that represents my color palette, how I go about choosing my colors. And these are the various paint brushes and the various tools that I can use to draw with. I have paint brushes and crayons and chalk and all the various natural media tools that I would normally use. I have right here on my iPad. Some of the brushes are crazy. Look at this one. It's like painting with leaves. You can really let your imagination run wild. I love drawing faces, so I thought that I would begin today with drawing a simple face. Now remember that everything that you draw can begin with a basic shape. A face, believe it or not, can begin with a square. And then you add a half circle on top and another half circle on the bottom. And now you can see the shape of the head coming together. Maybe I should make it a little bit smaller on the page so you can see. And I'm going to just kind of block things in so that you can see a little bit better here. Maybe add in the place where the ears will eventually be. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. Right now, what I'm creating is a skeleton that I will use to later on draw a more detailed face. So I'm adding a couple of circles, triangle. Again, remember that everything that you draw begins with a basic shape. Adding in the place where the mouth will eventually be, place where the irises of the eyes will eventually be. Maybe I'll kind of sketch in where the eyebrows might fall and the neck. Now this serves as my underdrawing. This is my first draft. Is my first draft ever perfect? No, your first draft is never perfect. But I will use my first draft as a template for now creating a more detailed final drawing. I'm using one of my favorite brushes. It kind of looks like chalk. And I'm using the color black to create the outline. And I'm tracing over the blue line. I'm using that blue line as a guide to allow me to be able to draw a more final and more detailed drawing over top of that. Now I want to add color. And I'm going to do that by outlining my entire drawing. And then once I get this entire shape outlined, I'm just going to go into my color palette and select a brown and drop that in like magic, okay? And then I'm going to add a bit of color to this person's cheeks, a little bit of color to their lips. Maybe go into the whites of the eyes and color that in. And to give this person's face a bit more shape, I'm going to add some shadows under the nose and under the chin and under the eyebrows, and two dots on this person's eyes, which represent light bouncing off the surface of their eyeballs. Now let's add some hair to our drawing. Doing the hair is always one of my favorite parts of creating a face. I grew up in a barbershop family, so I've always loved anything that has to do with hair. And I use my favorite brushes called curly, and I'm giving this person a curly afro, a curly brown afro, kind of sketching that in slowly, taking my time. Now our afro is kind of coming together. I've got it in much darker so that you can see it so much better. But you know what? She needs a lineup. You know how you go to the barber shop and the barber gives you a lineup because your edges are kind of out of control. Another thing that I like about drawing on my iPad is the ease in which I can make changes. So let's say I want to change the color of this person's hair, because everyone's like wearing blue and green and purple hair today these days, right? And so I can easily go into my iPad and select the color bar and easily change the hair. I can even, if I want to, make this person look like a Frankenstein monster with green skin. Now, that's what I love about drawing on my iPad is that I have so many choices. Now, what's the last thing that an illustrator does to a drawing? Go in and sign my name. Now, this is not the best drawing in the world. I know this is very rough, but you got to remember that all of my drawings begin very rough, like this, before I go in and do something more polished.
And now it's your turn. I just want you to draw whatever it is that you want to draw, whatever it is that makes you happy. I, again, love drawing faces, and so I'm going to draw a face, and I'm going to draw on my iPad, but I want you to remember that you don't have to draw on your iPad. You can draw on a sketch pad with a marker or some crayons or a pencil. This is kind of a fancy pencil, but I want you to feel free to draw with whatever you want to draw with on whatever you want to draw on. Consider drawing something that you really enjoy drawing, or draw someone, maybe someone in your class or someone that you know who really inspires you and brings you a lot of joy. Today, I've decided that I'm going to draw a picture of someone who I discovered on the internet. He's a librarian, and his name is Michael Threets. I've never met him before. He doesn't know me. I don't know him, but I get quite a bit of joy from watching his social networking. So that's who I'm going to draw today. And you're going to draw who you want to. Let's get at it.
So I found a picture of Michael on the internet that I would use as reference, and I begin again by creating just really sketchy shapes, trying to capture his personality, his joy. I begin with drawing the face, and now I'm adding a bit of color and detail. And in another file, I'm going to work on creating a drawing of his face. So here I added in some color and some of the basic lines of his face, like his eyes and the shape of his nose and his bright smile. I'm also blocking in colors of his hair, and you'll notice that I'm revising, which means that sometimes I mess up and I have to kind of go back a few steps and redraw, because the first time you draw something, it's never accurate or perfect. You continue to revise your drawing as you're drawing. And now I want to add in some highlights and some shadows, because that's going to make his face round. You'll notice that I added a bit of color to his cheekbones, because I often say that that little bit of color is what gives his skin color life. Now I'm adding in the detail of his mustache and beard because that plays such an important part of capturing this person's personality. I've merged the head and the shirt all together into one file. I've added a background, and I will continue to revise and to change this drawing. I don't know that I ever really finish a drawing. I'm constantly adding in details and changing and revising as I go. Now, while I began my drawing at my iPad, I like to finish my drawings at what's called a Cintiq. It's like a really large iPad. It kind of reminds me of drawing at an old-fashioned painting easel. I haven't touched real paint in years, but this is the closest that it comes to actually drawing at a painting easel.
So, what advice would I give all of you young artists? Well, the first thing, the most important piece of advice that I can give you is that you need to draw as much as possible. Okay, you don't have to draw every day, but you need to draw as much as you possibly can. What happens when you do something a lot? You get better at it, right? So if you want to become a better baseball player, you got to play baseball a lot. If you want to become a better singer, you have to sing a lot. And if you want to become a better artist, you got to get that pencil and paper and you have to draw a lot. Sometimes you'll want to draw things that aren't so easy. I love drawing faces. I hate drawing hands. I'm simply not very good with drawing hands. How am I going to get better at drawing hands? I'm going to get better by drawing hands a lot. So you'll want to draw, you'll want to challenge yourself. And I think the other most important piece of advice that I can give you is you're at the library, right? You got to read. Happy drawing, and one of these days I want to be able to come to the library and get books that are written and illustrated by you.